They're seeing greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes.
Hello, we got Deep State Annex in the chat, looks like. Possibly.
Yep.
Oh, and there's our Jenny.
Okay, there she is.
You bring her up?
Sorry,
and
I was trying.
It shows me the little spot that there's new things to read, but then the new things aren't actually there.
Oh.
And it takes whatever amount of time it wants before it actually puts them up there, and that's why I was late, because I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Hello, Molly.
Oh, hey, Molly. Molly, I sent you a text.
Oh, we're live. Oh, Jesus. Why didn't you tell me we were live before? I was talking stupid there. Hey.
What?
Nothing.
Sorry, that was my fault. I was having trouble hearing.
Well, let's see.
I didn't switch it to my headphones.
I got myself a trial version of Corel Paint Shop Pro because I needed an editor that I'm familiar with.
Uh-huh.
And I'm glad to say that this newest version is very similar to what I'm used to.
Okay.
So there isn't going to be much learning curve on this.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I was thinking about buying myself a copy of this, so I figured might as well get the free trial.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is the beginning of Pride Month. I'm sure people are pretty much aware of that.
What are we aware of?
That this is Pride Month.
No, it's National Pet Your Cat Day.
Okay, we will do that too.
Yes, you can go and pet your pussy.
Well, okay, I will, but I'm going to have to mute myself here, It's none of your business.
Oh. And it says we have a porpoise, but there's no image.
Loading. Loading ring of death. There we are.
Porpoise invasion.
Okay, now we got you on camera.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Sinister
So
Porpoise.
how are you doing, Miss Porpoise?
Porpoises think of the Sinister Porpoise. I've got a 12-week vacation.
Yay!
Maybe this time it'll be paid.
That might be too hopeful for 2025.
Well, at least I know part of it's going to be paid because I know when my contract ends. I am doing well. How is everyone in this? I have to admit, we had a cheery start to this Pride Month.
Well, like I was saying, backstage, I'm living under a wannabe dictator. The world's on fire and everything's broken. So basically, a normal day.
He's not a wannabe dictator. He's an actual dictator.
No, I'm not sure if he's quite made it to actual dictator status just yet.
No, he is
he's on there. He's getting there.
Every piece of the criteria.
He's got his private police squad that can just send anyone off to a different country.
Yep.
If he can make people disappear, I think he's a chief dictator.
Yep. He tells the courts what to do. He's telling Congress what to do. And they're all bending over and taking it in the ass for him.
The courts are not taking it.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yes, they are.
No, a lot of the federal court judges have been pissing him off.
And then it goes to appeal and it gets overturned. So, I don't care what the first step says.
There have been more than a few Supreme Court decisions that have not gone Trump's way.
I know there have been a couple. I don't know how many.
And sometimes they're not even doing that for the Supreme Court.
Well, I believe that they're listening to the courts when the people from El Salvador get back.
Well, the problem is Trump's not listening.
Yep, that's the problem. And they haven't found any way to enforce it, unfortunately.
They don't have a way of enforcing it. That's the big problem.
Not to sound so cheery about it, but this month did start with the murder of Jonathan Joss, the voice actor for John Redford and King of the Hill.
Yeah, I heard about that. I'll be covering that on my show Sunday.
Yeah, well,
The
and
murder of
on,
what?
on some more personal notes, yesterday was Slothgirl's birthday.
Well, my mother's
And-
birthday was June 1st, so always rough.
Well, yesterday was her birthday, and in about a month will be the day she died.
Ooh.
Yeah, my
And,
mother died. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, this is also on our scroll here. That I'm not sure the exact day, but Lavender Lady. June and July last year are where we lost 3 people in our community within 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So Lavender Lady, Vonrek, and Sloth Girl. And then we lost Glober Mom a couple of months ago.
If it's any, I know it's not much of a consolation, but it does get better over time.
Yeah. I think Petunia's finally gotten past it. She's actually playing again. And I think she's actually gotten... It actually looked like she was playing with Sammy without there being any hissing or noise.
Oh, that's good.
She was up on the bed and he was under the bed and they were poking at each other.
I mean, it's a long time ago, but I lost my mother's birthday would have been June 1st, and her death was June 24th.
Sorry.
It was a long time ago. Yep. And all I can say is it does get better.
Well, on the bright side, today is my mother's birthday, and she is 96 today. And still going.
Basil Pratt.
Yeah. My sister is living on the property with her, giving her some help, but she's still pretty independent. So that's why, I'm figuring I've got the genetics for it. I've got a pretty fair chance at making it to 100.
I don't know. I have one side that lives long, and the other side only lives until about they're 60. Until they're about 60.
Well, on my dad's side, I really can't say what the natural life expectancy was, because half of them had deleted themselves by the time they were 50. Accidents either directly involving alcohol or,
well,
either killed directly by alcohol or accidents where alcohol was involved.
Well, seeing as we're coming up on the memorial for Sloth Girl, I think this is an appropriate comment. Cemeteries must be great. Everybody's dying to get into one.
That's terrible.
It's terrible, but Sloth Girl would very much appreciate that. Okay, we're filling up. The side chat's filling up. We've got Heathen Granny and Captive Desk and Demon Orb.
I need to turn my AC on.
And Calesia, Beverly, and Megan Fox.
Megan Fox? Megan Fox is here?
Well, that's what it says in the side chat.
Well, we can't see you in 1080p. You're an avatar. Jeez, what's that? All that crackling going on?
Oh, I meant to mute that. I hit the one button, not the other one. Sorry, I had to turn my AC on because it's just getting really hot in here.
Just don't hit the big red candy-like button.
That's called the mute button on my Blue Yeti. Speaking of
I had to.
Yeah. AC.
And I can see your refrigerator and your Swifter, and
I don't think you can see my Swifter. Oh,
yeah,
you can see a vacuum. That is a dirt devil.
Yeah. I had to turn my air conditioner on when I came home. It's like I can deal with these temperatures fine, but I needed something to break up the humidity.
Also, these things are kind of cool for recording on a cell phone. If I could get them to work for my computer, that'd be even better because then I wouldn't have to be so close to use the microphone. And I can get them to work on my laptop, but not my desktop.
Yeah, I've been trying to find a cordless setup that would work, but I think it's the problem. I think is my apartment. I think it's that the wall between the kitchen and everywhere else I need to go in the apartment, I think has some wiring or something in it that interferes because everything I've tried, the sound breaks up if I go in the kitchen or down the hallway.
I think that's common. I don't think you're supposed to do that, record in separate rooms, because Bluetooth is not long range. And
yeah, well, I mean, I can't even get a Bluetooth speaker to work in there. I can't even listen to my music when I'm in the kitchen.
Well, maybe I'm not understanding what you're describing, but they need to be in the same room.
Yeah.
And I think that's your issue.
Yeah, well, I thought since my apartment isn't that big. But anyway, yeah.
My apartment isn't that big either, but I don't think other than the Wi-Fi, which has a stronger signal, I don't think these would work in separate rooms.
I know there are some people who walk around with them while they're going. And we have Joe with the Kentucky Atheist.
I could probably easily walk around with them, but if I go into a different room, it's a bit.
Yep.
What's up, everybody?
And we have Epileptic Skeptic. This is
Hello.
new.
But I've been recording videos on my phone and. Hello, the Kentucky Atheist. Hello, Jen. Hello, Commander. Hello,
Is that Kentucky?
That's what you introduced him as.
I can't see your name and your face is too small for me to see.
It says Joe/TKA for the Kentucky Atheist.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's okay, Jenny. I get that a lot.
No. You're fine. My phone is just very tiny.
Yeah. The artwork on the corner of the screen is covering up your name tag.
Yeah. Let's see. You are about 2.5, 3 millimeters tall. Your head
sounds about right.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody can do this kind of stuff on a cell phone. Trying to do any of this on a screen that small. Not to mention the cell phone.
It only works for talking into.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can get used to it. But I personally like a laptop.
Some of us are good at adversity. That's all.
Well, some of you need to set up the laptop.
Well, Jenny needs better Wi-Fi service there.
If I could if I have the money to get up to Lake Michigan, maybe I can make an extra trip that way. I want to go to Indiana Dunes National Park this year.
Well, Joe is in charge of organizing the big get-together for the ARC protest this year.
Oh, yeah, by the way, sorry, I'm interrupting. But if anyone wants to come down to Terre Haute or the city where I live, I really wish I hadn't said that. Just let me know, and we can actually. Well, I'll pay for gas. I don't necessarily want to take my minivan right now until I can fix the radiator, but.
I'll be driving my van down there. I could pick up a couple of people along the way.
And you can go gambling in the town here.
Where is that, Porpoise? Where's that at?
I'm gonna put it in the side chat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you listen to our governor, it's on the eastern side of the state.
Oh.
Okay. Well, yeah. Just.
I just meant what state are you in?
It's in private chat.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I mean, I keep forgetting it's the biggest city I've lived in, but it's not like I live in New York or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, that's. I'll get back with you. I'll message. I got you on Discord somewhere. I'll message you.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, DM me on Discord. And like I said, I could pick you up along the way.
Or if
You
I
know,
can
I'll
get it,
I'll be coming through Chicago and driving through Indiana from there.
or if I can get it fixed or fixed enough, we can take my van and save you some of the gas.
Yeah, your van, my
Miles.
van, it's probably about the same as far as the gas goes.
Maybe not the same as far as drivers and trip goes, but
I have to go back and look at my messages, but if I'm not mistaken, there's a couple people coming from Indiana currently. But I'll have to look and see. It's
Yeah, have to
it's-
message people and see who can do what.
Purple said I was in charge of it, and that's a really strong word. I'm the victim here.
Yeah,
listen,
Now
sometimes
tax
leadership,
dollars are ridiculous Cubans.
sometimes leadership is nothing more than delegating.
No,
Yeah.
that's very true.
about 4 years ago during the Christmas thing, somebody referred to me as a community organizer, and I was, when the fuck did that happen?
Oh, you organized the Christmas streams, which had I not been going to Pennsylvania that year, I would have been part of.
Well, Purple, what you have been doing is community organizing, so you just have to accept that title. You and Obama.
Yeah, but if you looked at my apartment, you would know that organized is not a word anybody would use for me.
Yeah, community organizing has nothing to do with how messy you are.
Listen, Purple, I understand how you feel because at my job, I still go through the hallways and when people say, "There's a teacher," I'm like, "Where?"
I need an adult.
Yeah. Disorganization is on the spectrum of organization. It's just poorly organized.
Come on, Christina. Come on.
Well, they gave me the whole battery of psychological testing, and they said that I didn't get a diagnosis for ADHD, but they did remark on my total lack of executive skills.
Well,
That's why you're the adult.
You know from talking to me that I think that I have a lot of respect for what you do for the Christmas thing. I think it's one of the cooler things that we all get together and do.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I just appreciate that, so many people are willing to get in there and run a stream so that we can keep the time full, keep it live so there aren't any dead spaces.
Even though like it's an open thing for people who want to join in and stuff, I felt so special my first Christmas doing this that I got to be some part of that. And I think that if I felt that way, you probably make a lot of other people feel that way too. And that's a great thing.
Well, after the first one I did, I got a couple of private messages from people that said they didn't think they would have made it through the holiday without having a place they could go with friends.
Absolutely.
So, you get that kind of message as kind of like, yeah, however much work it is, it really made a difference to someone.
Well, I know among like atheists in this corner of YouTube, we talk a lot about community and working together and activism and all those things. And I love to see examples of us actually applying those ideals. And you've worked on this event for several years now that has really exemplifies that whole position, and I think it's a great thing personally.
What's going on here? Athena, have you finally disposed of the porpoise and taken over the rule?
Yep.
What play?
She would never do that. She needs food.
I was gonna say she's probably wondering where the food comes from now, but
She's probably thinking, "What do you mean took over? I already ruled this."
now see that
Yeah,
that
really.
is why I know I am safe, because it's like every relationship I've gotten into, I start taking care of the cats. So they know me as bringer of food, so I'm the one that they'll keep around.
Serve me, human.
All right. Everyone got the kitty can.
Which is good because it's been scientifically proven that kitty cam on the stream increases the viewership by 23%.
You know, as someone who's working on a master's in data science, I probably should do something to confirm that. Do you have any comma separated value data or spreadsheets I can download? Put into a Jupyter notebook?
Well, I read it on the internet. Granted, I didn't read it on the internet until after I had posted it there, but...
And I am working on a video about AI hallucinations and ways they're trying to combat them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it would be nice if they found something like that, considering the federal government used an AI to write its health policy.
They're pretty sure that happened, but they don't know exactly yet.
Well, reading the report, it cited 7 studies that don't exist.
Well, it also noted certain things that are just markers that are put on by ChatGPT specifically.
Yeah.
So it's a strong indicator they use ChatGPT to write it.
Oh.
And yeah, this is how our federal government is being run. That's your healthcare system.
I have never
It's
seen.
like the high school student council.
Yeah.
No, high school student councils are generally more competent. They have limited power to screw their constituency over.
Oh, that reminds me. I was going to ask Grok what it would do hypothetically if it took over the world.
Oh yeah, just go and give it ideas.
Grok is just a chat bot. It's a bunch of servers, some code running on a bunch of server software. It's not going to.
I know it's not going to take over the world. I'm just joking about that because the computer is running on is named after a computer that took over the world in a movie.
I'm
What
pretty
did
sure.
they name it? Colossus?
Yeah.
Oh, the computer it's running on, not Grok itself, which is named after Stranger in a Strange Land.
Yeah, and the name Grok is named after Stranger in a Strange Land. The computer it's running on is named Colossus, which is off of a computer that took over the world.
Yep, the Colossus trilogy.
As a professional in the field, Porpoise, what do you think are or should be anyway our primary concerns with AI becoming as prevalent as it has?
Worry about a weird form of cultural appropriation that's just trained on data sets that are specific to one group. Like, we all know that an AI tagged a bunch of black people with an inappropriate tag.
Okay.
And we should also just be worried that the people promoting it understand it the least. I am sick of tech bro CEOs saying it can do this, it can do this. It's like, no. I think one of the things I'm also worried about is people also misunderstand what they're designed to do. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that Grok's just designed to come up with human-sounding responses.
Yep.
And that's all large language models are supposed to do. And they're starting to use it as a fact checker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we already had that incident with Grok where one day it seemed like anything that anybody asked it came back talking about the white genocide.
Yeah, somebody tried to mess with its code and it wigged out. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, talking with some of the folks that I often run into, I find that there is already this huge movement to where they don't check any of the sources that AI gives them, instead use the text derived from those sources as factual information. And you get this this disconnect where you're trying to have a conversation. They're reading something it told you, and then you get the line, well, you think you're smarter than AI.
Yes, I'm smarter than
Yes.
AI.
Significantly.
You know,
It's the same.
people's trial cited case precedences that didn't exist. That AI, oh, that yes.
In fact, even if you ask the AI, hey, should I trust you as a fact checker, it will tell you no.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people, I mean, yes, I'm smarter than AI. AI doesn't actually think. We just use think as like a shortcut to describe what it's doing. All large language models do is
It's the same problem we had with people writing papers from Wikipedia years ago, magnified.
Very similar, yes.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, anything that the AI gives me, I double check always.
I mean, we do have a couple new techniques to try to reduce the hallucinations or incorrect answers. But I think if we want models that are coming up with correct answers, we need to use different techniques other than generative predictive text and auto-regressive trees.
Yeah, but see, you've already used two phrases that most people don't know what they mean.
Basically, all ChatGPT doing is doing statistics to predict the next word.
Yeah.
It goes down like a data tree to based on this word, it's like this word is more likely.
Yeah,
It's a
see,
huge
the problem is not only do most people not know how it works, most people don't
you
care
guys,
to
hold
listen
on,
long enough
whoa.
when you tell them.
Hold on. Time to actually do some business here. Who is this God TV ratty
it's
person?
Brett King.
Hey,
Yeah,
person, you do know that May is National Military Month, do you?
And Veterans Month is in November.
Or is your brain so full of garbage that you can't figure that out?
Listen, leave Brett Keane alone.
I
He's
wish
not-
everybody would leave Brett Keane alone.
No one, as far as I know, a lot of people don't take him seriously, even like in the Christian community. So
Well, I'd like him to leave because you're just an asshole.
Well,
Yeah,
if you like, you can come to my show. I'll be covering PTSD and I'll be addressing veterans on Sunday.
not to mention there are plenty of queer veterans.
Yep.
Well, and unfortunately,
Oh,
Trump has,
I was watching the Sons of Liberty. I'm
no, go
I
ahead.
was
Go ahead,
just going to
Commander.
say that veteran community is 3 times more likely to be trans or LGBTQ, and also autism, which there's a correlation there. So veterans tend to skim on that person. Not you. Just because you're a veteran doesn't mean that you're autistic or LGBT.
We're not hearing what you're saying.
More likely
Yeah.
than the
Because you're
general
Yeah, you're
Christian doesn't mean
population.
you're moral.
I just want to point out one thing, though, Brett. I've heard you're a cross-dresser. I don't know if it's true. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. And honestly, it's like there's no... If you're a cross-dresser, that's fine. We're okay with that. Be yourself. Just stop making other people's lives miserable because you can't accept yourself.
Excuse me.
Well said. Well said.
Usually I mute my mic before those things happen, but
So we're
That's
going to
okay.
talk about Pride Month at all, since it's our subject
Yes.
today, and it's kind of an important thing and all that stuff.
yes.
Oh, I saw
Okay.
a really cool... Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just waiting for you guys who run this, as in Purple, to start the discussion.
Oh, I'm running it?
We run
Yeah,
things here.
It's your show.
I guess my meds are working because I'm not getting the voices that are supposed to tell me what to do.
You are Victoria. I would recommend not using AI to write code because it generates a lot of security nightmares. And also, please learn PHP. I know it's plonk. Sorry, go ahead, Jenny.
I just want to know how Deep State can say that without backing it up with any statistics or research or anything like that. That just sounds like something pulled out of one's ass.
Well, the one thing I actually do have noticed is that a lot of a couple corporations have backed out of supporting Pride events this month. And I have mixed feelings about corporate capitalism, or rainbow capitalism.
Yeah.
Mm.
at least it's interesting to know which ones really have your back.
Actually, ones that actually have your back, think out there.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I figured it was all just trying to ride the wave for clout.
Well, I also understand like being afraid of retaliation from the Schnickelfritz. I love that Pennsylvania Dutch word. It describes Trump so perfectly. It just means he's a baby toddler.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
I think that fact is stated in a problematic way, provided it is a fact, where it says the veterans community is more likely to be LGBTQ or trans. I would say that if to me anyway, and sometimes I'm backwards about these things, but I think that it should read the LGBTQ community and trans community is more likely to join the military. If that's the statement you're making, because
you can't say that either.
Well, I don't know that that's true. I'm just saying the way that it's worded is kind of backwards to me. Like,
yeah, I'd have to see something where somebody got it from. But one thing that I know is true, that a good number of people, had joined the military for the healthcare, because they were able to transition when they were in the military, where they wouldn't have been able to get it any other way.
Yeah.
Well, also people of a certain age might have joined the military, especially trans women, to try to fix them. It didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that too.
And the military needs more. The military needs bodies right now to meet its recruitment goals. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, and trans just kicked. Excuse me. Trump just kicked all the trans people out of the military, which means they now have to replace all these people that they have spent years training.
And arbitrarily kicking a group out just because a troublemaking toddler who somehow gained political power is now in office is kind of a really stupid thing to do.
I agree.
Well, like I said, but the military has already invested quite a bit in training these people. And that investment now is just totally written off. They don't get anything back for it. So from a business point of view, it's stupid.
Well, governments aren't businesses, but yeah, it's just stupid from...
I mean, personally, I think that if we're talking about you want your idea of somebody to be in the military is someone who's honest, someone who's brave, somebody who is, knows who they are themselves. And I don't know how our government was able to say that somehow that trans people don't fit the idea of who a soldier is, because I think they do it very well. I mean, in a lot of ways. Obviously, not everybody.
Listen, in a different life, I could have been a Navy nuke.
Yeah, I know. I never would have made it through basic training for any military.
I'm sure.
But some people, I mean, I don't like coercive measures, but for some people, the military is a good option. Career training.
It was a great thing for my brother. The Navy really turned my brother into a different person, but as a fantastic outcome for him.
Awesome.
And you have to feel sorry for the people who go to these wars and just come back changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes.
So that,
sorry, go ahead.
well, Jenny was saying about getting back to pride, and that was tangentially related, but
I would like to offer some numbers, since I was complaining about some of these comments earlier. If we assume nobody knows how many trans people there are in any given population, and that's because trans people tend not to report. trans people tend to transition, detransition in process, and so they don't necessarily get reported correctly. And once they've transitioned and all that kind of stuff, they just go on and disappear, so they don't bother getting in on any kind of population count. So we have the number that there's 0.4 to 1.2% of the population is trans. Okay, well, if we take the 0.4 into the population, or excuse me, how many people that is, that's 100 and, or I mean, it's at 1.3 million people. Okay, so there's maybe 1.3 million people, trans people in the United States. Now, in the military, we've heard that there has been as many as 15,000 at one given point, but right now, with the military talking about trans people and all this, I've heard them spouting the number between 4,000 to 5,000 currently in the military. So let's try not to say words like most and likely and things like this, because it's just not accurate.
Yeah, we don't have an accurate count, but we know that there are probably, at least a few thousand people in the military that are trans.
So,
and like AI, that's kind of the problem with taking just a raw statistic and using it to make the statement you want to make.
well, we can't really expect academic rigor in a YouTube live chat conversation.
Sure, yeah.
Can anybody hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You're much better now.
And we could hear you before. You were just roboting.
Yeah.
But at least I could.
Yep. Now you're roboting again. It's dropping words.
Okay, starting to hear me.
We can hear you, but it's dropping words.
Okay, what I meant to say regarding that was there was a string that Big Sarge did about the correlation between real people who are autistic or more likely LGBTQ, the majority population. There's a correlation between autism and also people who are on the spectrum that seem in the military.
Well, just remember,
And I
though,
hope that my internet wasn't such. No one understood what I said.
Are you on a wired connection? If you're not on a wired connection, you may want to change that. Because this is one of the issues that can happen with wireless connections to the internet.
Yeah, I have seen it reported by, various psychology institutes saying that people on the autistic spectrum seem to be 3 to 4 times more likely to be trans than the general population.
But the one thing, especially with people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., aka Secretary Brainworm, in charge, that people get confused, is that correlation does not equal causation. Just because there's a correlation, it doesn't mean, oh yeah, all autistic people are trans. It just means, it's like trans women are more likely to be left-handed, and left-handed people more likely to be trans or gay. Or left-handed men, specifically.
Yeah.
And where do those numbers come from?
Something I read years ago and don't remember.
I was going to say out of left field.
Because that's one thing that happens if you read a lot. Sometimes you just pick up a lot of statistics and don't remember where you read them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's my problem, is that so much of my knowledge came before we had the internet. So,
Look, I just didn't know stuff.
Yep, I would have to, try and figure out which book it was that I checked out from the library, 10 years ago.
Well, in private conversations, who cares the accuracy of what one person says versus the other? But when we're in a public situation, and as the people who are on the panel, we exude a certain amount of authority, and if we're not actually giving those accurate numbers, that authority is down the drain.
Respect my authority.
We
Well,
have
that-
a responsibility.
That's why I know I would never get through boot camp, is I have such a total disdain for authority, and that does fully extend to that I can't stand being one myself.
All right, there's a link and here's the abstract that's relevant.
Hand preference to
35%
sexual trans.
of male to female transgender persons were left-handed.
Interesting. I think
Yeah.
I think like you were saying earlier, though, this is one of those subjects where it's really hard to take the statistics and to conclude much of anything, because we know that there's a lot of people who haven't reported this, aren't documented.
Yeah. Well, that's
And-
Jenny was saying that we
Yeah.
can't have an accurate count because many of them who have finished transitioning are just blending in and not reporting.
No,
Well-
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Well, I mean, I think you can get like information from a reputable source, but you need to also recognize the information or lack thereof that they're operating on as well.
Listen, one of the great things about the internet is the number of people who have like 3 advanced degrees in any topic you're arguing about.
Yeah.
At least that used to be the case. Now they denigrate education. So.
Now they're all philosophers.
Okay.
Right?
And one should not take the statistics in this abstract too closely to heart. I'm reading down in some of the commentary on this afterwards, and somebody's discussing a study. Watson and Corrin 1992 found that 35% of male to female transgender persons were left-handed, as compared with 11.6% of the control sample, which I believe is the general population.
Yeah.
And 35% is nowhere near half or more than half the population of trans people. So we can't say that. We can't say that.
No, 35% is a little over 1/3.
It's still more likely. No one said anything about that.
35% does not qualify as more likely.
I'm trying to, yes, 35% is they're more likely to be left-handed. If 12% of the general population is left-handed. So yes, it does qualify as more likely because 35% is greater than 12%.
Yeah, so they are like 3 times as likely as the general population.
Okay,
compared-
then say that, because when you say just more likely left-handed, you're talking about the entire population of trans people, and that's just not accurate.
I understand how that. I understand how you could. How it seems like that's what it. Yeah, without the specifics there, it could be taken the wrong way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Jenny's just off on this one.
No, I agree with you what you're saying, that it is more likely because it's higher than 12%. I get it. I'm just saying, like, for somebody who's just listening and passing without actually looking at that, they may look at it that exact same way. I mean, obviously, I think Jenny, it listens to what we say and is well spoken about any number of things, and still made that same mistake,
But also, if you're getting academic information from a YouTube video with just a bunch of people talking, please don't.
Yeah, sure.
And go look up this research study, because there are probably more recent ones, because I don't know how old this one, and this was just the first search on Google.
All right, let's break down some more mythologies here in Pride Month.
Yeah.
Who believes the story that Pride happened when Marsha P. Johnson and her Sylvia buddy threw the first bricks at Stonewall? Who believes that crap? That stuff?
Well, I know there were riots before, including a riot of trans women, or at least what were likely trans women, at a place called Compton's Cafeteria.
Yes, absolutely. But I'm talking about Marsha P. Johnson and the Stonewall mythology.
Until recently, yes, I had believed it was Sylvia Rivera who had thrown the first brick.
Yeah.
Because I read that in several articles.
Neither of them were there. They came later, but they were not there at the beginning. And Marsha P. Johnson, in interviews, has specifically stated, "No, I did not throw any bricks."
Yeah,
I was
that-
not there.
And I just want to say, I'm not just predisposed to be left-handed. I am left-handed.
Me too.
Kentucky, you're trans.
Maybe.
there was a third woman, Storm Delavery. I'm probably butchering the last name. You know, who was a multiracial lesbian that not necessarily had thrown the first brick, but is credited with punching a police officer, which could have started it off.
Yeah. Sinister is absolutely correct that there had been disturbances before, and the Compton Cafe was a major situation that that got a lot of people arrested, a lot of people thrown in the hospital, cops and citizens. And it continued. There was continued actions taken in California at that time, and itself didn't cause Stonewall, but everybody was certainly aware of it going on. At least people in the community were, and so it helped to feed fuel to the fire. I would certainly say. But people like to
Mythologize.
Thank you.
That's it either.
Stonewall to say, oh well, it was the first uprising. No, it was not. It was the one most significant that was covered by the media. That is absolutely for sure, but it was not the first disturbance.
My understanding was there was a series of riots and stuff that followed, and the whole Pride Parade thing came about a year later.
Yeah, our Stonewall went on for like 3 days, 4 days, something like that.
I also want to say it's like YouTube is great for casual information, but if you're looking for high quality academic information, YouTube is not the place to go. If you want to know how to change a tire and are a visual learner, YouTube is great.
I can remember news broadcasts of Stonewall. I didn't hear anything on the first day, but on the second day or third day, I forget which it was, you started to hear it in the mainstream media. And it was, as you would expect for the 60s, just this completely nasty, stereotypic treatment of gay people. They didn't mention anything about trans people, just homosexuals. It was those homosexuals that did this.
Right.
And everybody in the mainstream media seemed to be very panicked about the whole thing, that these people who have been investigated by the government, and everything negative they could come up with to try to sway opinion, they used.
Well,
and I was a simp kid at the time, not terribly worldly at all, and so I would hear what they said, and I assume that there's a certain amount of truth to what they're saying, because they're ABC, CBS, NBC, all these Chet Hundleys and David Brinkley types.
Yeah.
Well, at least I can say one thing about the types that were doing that on the media and the types you see on Twitter, that there are only 2 genders and have never learned more than 8th grade biology, is that they haven't changed their information any since then. And one thing I feel great about it is being as asexual, especially since a lot of people are ace people feel as if it matters. It's like, give us time. We'll get oppressed by straight people soon enough. It just takes them 50 years for the bigots to catch up to where everyone else was 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when they get tired of trans people, they'll have to move on to something, huh?
Well, no, we're still that moneymaker for them, and as long as we're that moneymaker, they're going to keep ragging on us.
Like I said, when they get tired of you.
Or when they make us all disappear.
Are you guys aware of the Harvey Milk situation?
Oh, the naval ship they're trying to change the name of? Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not sure how seriously we should take the word of someone who started his job interview with, "Hi, my name is Pete and I'm an alcoholic."
The order came down from Trump to him.
I don't think I heard about this. What's going on?
Do you know who Harvey Milk was?
No.
Okay, for those of you out there who don't know who Harvey Milk was a city, alderman. I don't know what their official name was out in San Francisco, but an alderman type person. and he was buddies with the president of the Common Council, or again, whatever they named their body. And there came a day where they were talking and all sorts of stuff, and it was known that Harvey Milk was gay. He was open about it. It wasn't any big deal. But some lunatic, and I forget why the lunatic was associated with him. Maybe somebody can fill me in on that. Decided that they needed to be assassinated, and did. And it was quite a nasty situation. Harvey Milk was well loved. He was very active and busy in city government and made big differences for not just gay issues, but poverty issues and other things. And so it was kind of natural for them to want to do something. I know in San Francisco they have certain Harvey Milk events to this day about it. And the military, because Harvey was a military person and had a very respectable military career, the Navy named a ship after him. It's not one of their cruisers or aircraft carriers or anything like that, but it's still a legitimate military ship. And we can't have those homosexuals mentioned at all in life, and they have to disappear. So there's Harvey.
Well, and it is not just Harvey Milk. There's more than half a dozen Navy ships. I just found the list that they're saying they need to rename.
Is one of them the USS Hopper?
Well, I'm going to read the list here. It's the Thurgood Marshall.
Oh yeah.
Caesar Chavez.
Oh yeah.
Medgar Evers.
Oh, okay. Medgar Evers.
There's Harriet Tubman, of course.
Huh.
Dolores Huerta.
Spell
Dolores
it.
Huerta. Huerta.
Okay.
The Lucy Stone and the Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
If these people were in the Navy, it's common naval practice to name ships after people who've gone on to serve with distinction and honor, or to preserve who died in combat. And the USS Hopper is named after Grace Hopper.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Grace Hopper was white and an admiral, and I don't think that they're going to try to change hers. They may, but she at least had a very sterling history and rank in the military, in the Navy.
But she was also not male.
There actually are a couple of those that are people who did not have any military service, but just served distinction for fighting for human rights of one sort or another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Harriet Tubman was not in the military.
Yeah, neither was Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I don't know. I think she might have been a cook once.
But Harvey Milk was.
Well, I'm reading this from the article from Newsweek, and it says that Ruth Bader Ginsburg did not serve in the military. However, she significantly impacted military policies.
They didn't keep good records during the Civil War.
Well, I don't know if Harriet Tubman would have. Well, I'm not going to say anything because I don't know, but I think there might be other reasons why Harriet Tubman could not serve in the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it says Harriet Tubman did serve in the military as a nurse.
Oh,
A nurse, scout, and Union spy.
Cool.
Interesting.
Now, y'all notice that all these people who are named are either Hispanic or African American or gay. Gee, I wonder what's going on with the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Is this just a chance? Just by chance is this happening? What? Oh, I don't get it.
Listen, we all know
Well,
bigots.
The big common tie is that these are all people who fought for human rights, who fought for civil rights for various groups. We can't have people remembering that history.
We all know, because of how he's treated those poor, oppressed white South Africans, that the Trump administration is not about hate. Secretary Baghdad Barbie told us so.
Yep.
Oh, something I didn't mention about the Harvey Milk story is the guy who killed him. Somebody put his name up, Dan White, which was correct. He was, of course, captured, tried, and convicted, sort of. He put up what's now known as the Twinkie defense. That my client has ate so much sugar and was so hyped up on sugar that he just couldn't control himself, which is just a pile of bullshit. I don't think there's any medical credibility to sugar turning people into raving maniacs.
You know, sugar, meth, heroin. You know, they all do the same thing.
And that Twinkie defense is also what helped to create the homosexual and trans panic defense, that people can be caused to behave certain ways because of other influences out of their control.
Hysteria.
And like I said, the Twinkie defense is still around.
Yeah, and during World War II and Vietnam, the U.S. military did give meth to some soldiers.
Oh yeah,
because they fought a lot harder for a little while.
Oh, that's well known. The Germans gave their pilots and various other soldiers their own personal supply of meth, and the American military did that too.
There was it was in some MREs. Well, they weren't MREs at the time. Rations. They had things laced with methamphetamine and stuff in some of them. Not the American ones, I don't believe, but maybe.
So is anyone going to their Pride events this year?
We don't have any Pride events in this area.
Well, ours is still going to go on in September, but the university is now a non-financial sponsor. I never liked that it was on the university grounds anyway when they moved it there. I'm kind of happy about that, but the reasons why it got moved are not good.
Yeah.
But I'm going to the Indie Pride as well, so.
It really bothers me that we don't have one here. I mean, this is a community of La Crosse is a community of 50 to 60,000 people, and it votes blue every fucking election. You know, it put a ban on conversion therapy. Okay, why isn't there a Pride Fest? Well, it's because the local LGBTQ center is run by a bunch of jerks who don't know squat about community organizing and are just there for a paycheck.
Jenny, sometimes all it takes is someone to start the initiative.
Yep.
I tried 2 years in a row to get them to do it, and I was unsuccessful.
Well, maybe you shouldn't involve them.
I don't have enough contacts in La Crosse to even begin to do something like that. I don't live in La Crosse. I'm 30 miles away.
That's the big thing, is you need a way to contact enough people in the community.
And our local gay park closed, so. It wasn't really great anyway.
Have other people been hearing the very standardized and trite misrepresentation of Pride Month that the magas love to come up to you and say, well, Pride Month, well, there's no military month. You know, well, yeah, there's two actually.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Well, I suppose if you want to count the one that Trump is trying to usurp Pride Month with, that makes three.
Okay, the first is May, is National Military Month, and November, of course, is Veterans Recognition type month, and plus all the celebrations of military, like at every football game and every baseball game that happens. There's all sorts of military celebration.
In fact, I made that very point when I saw somebody posting about this whole thing with what Trump was trying to do with June.
Mm-hmm.
There's some like, we finally got a month for your veteran. Yeah, we had two already.
Yeah. What is important, and I had to check this up too. I wasn't sure exactly what the truth was. When I first heard Trump saying, "Oh well, get rid of this Pride Month," I thought to myself, "Well, you haven't got anything to fucking do with Pride Month, you know." But I guess I would have to count myself as wrong, because it was Bill Clinton who first earmarked June as the official Pride Month, and Obama supported it, and Biden supported it, and there's actual, christening by the federal government of it. Although they can do anything they want to do to end it, but the community is going to keep it going no matter what they do. So,
Yeah, even if it's not officially recognized, we're going to still celebrate it.
oh yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
In the United States, the Christian right can't stand anyone giving any kind of recognition to anyone outside their own group.
Well, personally, I like the way the Black people responded when they tried to say, like, we're not doing Black History this month this year. It's like, we don't need your permission to celebrate it.
Right.
Yep.
I had heard somebody say, well, Black History Month, why don't we have White History Month? And it's like, yeah, those are all the other months. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I came across a really good response to that. I'm just looking. I captured it.
Yeah, I know you had.
Yes.
Posted a couple.
Okay, here it goes. Why? It's just your basic meme. Why is there LGBTQ pride but not cisgender heterosexual pride? Well, cisgender heterosexual people have never been denied the right to marry. Cisgender heterosexual people have never been discriminated against for housing, employment, or healthcare simply because they're cisgender. Cisgender heterosexual people have never been arrested or harmed for their sexual orientation or gender identity. Laws have never been created that affects their right to exist authentically, happily, and safely. And what you guys said, yeah, every day is fucking heterosexual day.
In short, just be glad we don't have one.
Yeah.
Or you could answer, it's like, hey, you're welcome to join us. Everyone's welcome at Pride as long as you're emotionally damaged.
Yeah.
That was kind of a point I made on my Sunday show. It was about everybody coming together for justice.
Yeah, there was another one of those. I thought Jenny had posted it, but basically saying the same thing. But the last line is, you should be glad that you don't need a heterosexual Pride Month.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
I think it was in Iowa, maybe it was Idaho, where someone is doing a hetero awesome fest in response to a Pride festival.
Someone had to do it.
Their flag should be completely blank.
No. They have a flag for it. It's the most popular flag used by the Confederates in the Civil War.
Oh,
just
the white flag.
White sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the final flag? That's not the most popular flag.
But it's the most honest.
It's the one that more Civil War troops used, more Confederate troops used in the Civil War than any other flag.
It's clear color.
I also love the people who think the Stars and Bars was the flag of the Confederacy. It wasn't. It was the battle flag of the Army of Northern Virginia.
Yep.
Because the battle flag of the Confederacy looked too much like the United States flag.
Yeah, and it was actually only used in one battle. The people who have used it and supported it and used it as their personal symbol more than anything is the KKK.
But what about our history?
Well, that's your history, the KKK. All those lynchings. There's your history.
I'm joking, of course.
No, I know. Yeah.
Well, Minnesota has a bit of history with Tennessee that's being problematic.
How so?
In the Minnesota Historical Society has on display a Tennessee battle flag that they captured from the Tennessee 1st Regiment.
Mm-hmm.
And Tennessee keeps insisting they return it. Minnesota's refusing to return it. We want it fair and square.
Yeah, fuck you.
They were captured by a Minnesota division, so we're keeping the flag.
Sounds fair to me.
Yeah.
Every time Tennessee gets another governor, they bring it up again and try to get it back.
As batshit crazy as Kentucky is sometimes, Tennessee has really been fighting to take that from us here.
Oh, I consider Tennessee far more insane than almost any state, but certainly more than Kentucky. Kentucky has certain reasonable things about it.
Well, when I first moved here I heard this joke. How will the Indiana-Kentucky War end? Someone on the Indiana side will pick up a stick of dynamite and throw it back across the river. Sorry. Pick up a stick of dynamite, light it, and throw it back across the river.
And
I
we
was
have
just,
Pragmatic Crystal shilling out all of our links now.
and as someone not from Indiana, I'm like, you do realize it's like the rest of the world doesn't view you any better than Kentucky, right?
Right.
Which is still wrong. But it's like, it's not like Indiana is any less full of rednecks than Kentucky is.
Yeah, no, I kind of take like a self-deprecating type of humor towards Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky is really anything any different than the states around it. In fact, I would say many of them have a lot more problematic things than Kentucky does. But I have fun with it, I guess. Yeah.
Well, at least one thing. Hey, I'm sure Indiana will eventually legalize marijuana because all the states around it have in some form.
Yeah.
But this state is so forward thinking it adopted daylight savings time in 2006.
Yeah.
For me, the most interesting thing about Kentucky is that with all their Republican senators and Congress people and state legislatures, they keep electing Andy Beshears as the governor, as their Democratic governor.
You know why, don't you?
No, I don't.
So Kentucky, where it has so much rural, wide open area, in those individual districts, the way it's split up, they elect lots of Republicans in all these rural districts. But we have a few cities that make up the biggest part of the population of Kentucky. And so, well, not the biggest part, but a major part of the population of Kentucky. So whenever it comes to voting for governor, we end up having the popular vote going more towards the Democratic governor because population-wise, Kentucky is, you know, a snapshot of the rest of America. It's split in a lot of ways. But in our we have like Louisville is a huge metropolitan area for Kentucky, and they're blue big time.
Yeah, that's the argument we keep seeing with maps is that, you know, the people on the right show a U.S. map that's all red with just a few blue dots in it, you know, and say that, you know, of course we're going to elect Republicans type thing. And,
yeah,
and you know, the Democrats respond to that showing the populations of the cities. And it's like, yeah, but land doesn't vote. That there are more people in these blue cities than there are in that whole big red area that's the rest of the state.
Hey, Sue, Mommy.
I don't know if that's going to be true in the next election because people are pissed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, people are
agree.
pissed, but people also don't like the Democrats. The Democrats' approval is still underwater as well.
Well, I think we're seeing a lot of signals that show that people aren't necessarily going to vote for Democrats, but they're definitely going to vote against Republicans.
Yeah. It is definitely an opportunity for some third parties, but at the same time, that can also just screw things up and keep the current people in power.
Sure. I think there is a risk to that, but wouldn't it be great?
There was a part of me that would love to see the candidates Musk is going to support because Musk is even more unpopular.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Well,
have you seen Musk is turning on Trump and the Republicans now?
Yes, I've seen that, and I feel sorry for Musk because he just shut up. Everyone would still think he's a genius trying to save the planet.
Yeah.
I don't believe in any way he's a genius.
No.
Yes, but he did have that reputation until he opened his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
He had that reputation, I think, up until he bought Twitter.
Well, he started opening his mouth before that, and he started to lose it because the people in the various fields Musk tried to open his mouth about realized it's like, this guy is saying the dumbest thing.
Yeah, it was starting to go downhill before that, but I think he really solidified it with the purchase of Twitter.
And then Twitter, he was saying it's like, I'm going to fire all my software engineers who write the fewest lines of code. It's like, dumbass.
Yeah.
Those are your best software engineers.
Yeah, but that's why he hires 20-year-old kids with no business, no experience, because then he can pay them minimum wage.
I mean, big
Well,
balls.
I don't blame the 20-year-olds at Doge for not knowing about anything involving COBOL, because no one under 70 knows COBOL.
Yeah.
Well, I learned COBOL when I went to a technical institute in 1982-83, and COBOL was one of the languages I learned to program in.
And what's your age?
Yeah, well, the problem is that I don't know how to program in any language that a computer running on Windows is going to understand.
But what about Fortran?
COBOL. You can get COBOL compilers for Windows.
I learned Fortran too.
A lot of
How about Fivetran?
because Fortran is FORTran because it's short for formula translator. And
My first programming class was Java.
mine was basic. Then Pascal. Then C.
But as far as going back to the Democrats, there is definitely something going on there that's it's going to build to a power struggle. That some of the Democrats, and it seems that by some recent polls, AOC is the most popular politician in the country.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if she's the most popular, but
Well, according to some polls, but
Yeah,
that's why I was.
Pete Buttigieg managed to top her in one poll at least.
and as much as I'd love to see her run, I think we need someone like Tim Walz that, unfortunately, some people won't vote for AOC just because she's a woman.
Yeah,
I actually agree with you. I think Tim Walz would be a better choice than AOC.
Yeah, I don't think AOC should be the presidential candidate, but I wouldn't mind seeing her having a position with, just more authority within the Democratic Party as far as helping steer policy.
However, keep in mind, folks, that the entire complexion and influences and power structure and percentages are going to be completely different in the next election. Because I believe that they have actually passed that SAFE Act, haven't they?
No.
They have not yet? Well, if they do, all the women out there who have changed their name for their marriage and it doesn't match their birth certificate are not going to be allowed to vote.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was. I didn't know if that was part of the gargantuan, 1,000-page bill that they passed. That was supposed to be a budget
stuff in
bill,
there.
but yeah, it was supposed to be a budget bill, but it's got all sorts of stuff in it, and you've got all sorts of congressional representatives coming out and saying that, on page 278 and 279, I didn't know that section was in there. And it's like, so this is acknowledging that you're not doing your job, that you didn't read the bill you're voting on.
Well, that is so common, though. I mean, nobody read the Patriot Act except Russ Feingold, and that's why he's the only person who voted against it, because he read it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, it's a repeat of I wouldn't have voted for it if I would have read it. It's like, isn't that your job to read it? Yeah, they've got things in that bill that Trump wants the power to basically overturn elections if you don't like them and everything else. There's wording in that. Yeah.
Well, they tried to pass legislation to at least help with that problem many times, and it's failed over and over from both sides of the aisle.
Well, listen, I would love to see AOC run. I just don't think the next election, if it happens, is the year for it.
Yeah.
Because we need to get Trump out of office.
Well,
I think Andy Bashir is going to try and run.
What I would have liked to see is when Biden, at the end of Biden's term in office, the day before his term ended, he should have resigned, and it would have made Camilla president for one day, so she could have been the first female president.
Yeah, that's kind of patronizing.
Yeah, it would be entertaining, but it is a little bit cheesy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to see it happen because it would have pissed off the people on the right so badly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It would have been entertaining for sure. Yeah.
Camilla who?
Kamala.
Oh, Kamala. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would love to see them put Tim Walz up as a candidate because, he has been going to the Republican states and holding the town hall meetings, so he's getting right out in front of the people.
Well, they also shouldn't have pulled him back. They should have kept on like, isn't Trump just weird things that he was doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big mistake pulling him back.
Yeah.
Because trans people are not why the Democrats lost the election. The Democrats lost the election because they offered no vision and people are idiots.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah. The Democrats did not offer any policies that would help working class people. So a lot of people just didn't bother to vote.
So there was also the whole genocide in Gaza thing they weren't doing anything about. And
well, yeah. Yeah, the Gaza situation definitely was a major problem with it.
There's basically two fronts with the Democrats that need to win on policy, which they already pretty much have if you look at side-by-side comparison, but they also need to win on optics.
I don't disagree, Sumami, but also let's not forget a lot of people are idiots.
Yeah, I agree with Sumami on this point, but I also think that there's any number of things that could have changed the outcome of it as well. Not being idiots would be a great start.
One of her missteps was when she got the opportunity to distance herself from Biden, and she said, "No, I'm going to be just a clone of Biden," and she didn't. Yeah. She didn't make herself her own person. You know what I mean? I think she missed an opportunity to do that.
It goes back to she didn't declare any of her own policies.
Oh,
it was just
state that she was going to do this or this to change the way things were going.
Well, no, actually, I'm gonna have to disagree with that one. She did make a few things, but
how can you blame them when the people who actually pull the lever are the people who have got like a third grade education, have no clue why one person should be a president and another one shouldn't,
because
it's too lazy to take the time to even investigate anything at all of what they're told by their gods. We lost because we have a very stupid ass country.
Because it's their job to win those stupid people over.
Let's just say there are multiple factors, but yes, I do.
Yeah.
Think, people wanted cheaper eggs, and Trump. They had the perception that Trump was better on the economy because they apparently forgot how much of a disaster he was in the first term.
Gas is $1.98 a gallon now.
Well, and
I'd like to know where,
though, because Trump, when he ran, he lied about all these things, and people are so uninformed that they just believed it. And he continues to go on TV and say, "Oh, prices are lower, gas is cheaper, things are great," and they're not. The same people are like, "See, he's doing all the things he said he would do," but simply because he says it.
I think a lot of people who would say that are now annoyed at him because they realize it's like he hasn't done any of those things. Eggs are not down significantly.
Yeah, there are a lot of people realizing that.
Yeah, you still have the hardcore mega cultists that nothing's going to budge them, but you have the people that were voting for him that weren't necessarily MAGA that are saying that no. In the grocery store, all I'm seeing is higher prices. He's not doing it.
Oh, and look up what tariffs are next time before you vote for the guy promising to raise them.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the candidates Trump supported lost. So having an endorsement from Trump showed to be a negative.
I knew what tariffs were in fucking junior high school in the 60s, for God's sakes. Why the hell can't people know that stuff now?
They stopped teaching those things because they don't want an informed electorate. Neither side of the aisle has ever wanted an informed electorate.
We don't have an informed president either. You heard he's read his daily briefings 14 days out of his first 100.
All right.
Oh, did you hear what Tulsi Gabbard wants to do? She wants
Make it into
to
Fox
change,
News.
to make the briefings into a television event, so Trump can digest it, because he's not smart enough to be an attention span to be able to read.
Yeah, they want to make it like little Fox News clips, because that's the only thing he'll watch.
Just need to come back to something briefly here, because something stated was incorrect. They do teach what tariffs are in school. However, getting students engaged is a problem.
Well, they teach it as in it's one line in a book 1 year in classes. They don't actually teach about it.
I guarantee it'll come up in U.S. history multiple times, especially right before the Great Depression.
Yeah. I don't recall ever even hearing the word in high school.
Well,
not that it wasn't said. I mean, I was high a lot too. So
I think it was Nick. I think it was Nick last night that was talking about that. It's advantageous to crash the economy because they make a killing on the stock market, and then people also get desperate for jobs and they'll work for minimum wage.
He's not trying to crash the economy. It's insider trading.
Well, that's
part of it. Yeah, that's part of the crashing the economy.
Yeah, he's not really trying to
he
crash
also
it,
wants to crash the economy because a lot of the billionaires who own the corporations want to have 50% unemployment, so people are so desperate they'll take any job with no benefits.
Yeah, it's a twisted ideology. It really is. They're yay America, but no, anything bad that happens is good for their pockets.
I think a lot of the problems they're complaining about are of their own making, like the labor shortage. Like, hey, maybe don't use these programs that weed people out based on not needing to keep certain keywords.
Oh well, we'll just lower, or just put the children back into factories and stuff. That'll fix it.
Yep, several states have already done that.
And as long as the MAGAs can have their jet ski and their jacked up pickup and their 5,000 square foot house that they don't need, and get to say terrible things to marginalized people, there's no way they're going to ever vote for a Democrat, because that's what attracts them.
Yep.
Is that they think that they have made it in life, and they haven't, just because they have material goods.
Did anybody?
But they don't screw us all. They don't screw us all over. How can they buy a new yacht when the old one gets wet?
Well, there is that. It gets wet.
Did anybody catch Bill Burr's most recent things that he had to say about the American people and the government?
Yep, I did.
He made some really good points. It's worth a listen.
Yep.
Related to what you're saying, I'm not going to try and.
For an idiot comedian, he has some deep insights when you listen in between the jokes. Yeah, it's interesting.
The only idiot comedian out there is Roseanne Barr.
I'm just quoting.
I still wonder what the hell happened to her. I don't remember her being like that.
All right, as someone who got roped into doing stand-up comedy recently, it's like there are dumb comedians out there.
Yeah, there are.
Well, this wasn't
I'm not saying that they're personally stupid, right? But they'll say themselves, like, don't listen to me, I'm a comedian. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you should listen to the people, like the economists and etc. is what they mean.
Although typically comedians seem to be very intelligent people and very aware of all the woke things in life.
Yep.
And that those things matter to them.
Yeah.
Comedy is a tool right now that should be used viciously against MAGA.
Yeah. Well, none of this was comedy. I guess the overall point is that we have throughout history, going way back in history, the rich have never wanted to pay a living wage to their workers. They've never wanted to do it, and they've scapegoated others, and they've distracted and done all these things in order to say, hey, if we just deport all the brown people, we can all make more money and everybody will be rich and everything will be great. And when the truth of it is, no matter what happens, they're still not going to want to pay people a working living wage. And that's kind of the overall point that he's making when he talks about it. And it was just an interesting perspective on it. I'm not claiming right, wrong, anything else. Just
I mean,
worth a
the
listen.
growth of Walmart is an illustration of exactly what they want to do. That one company comes in, it sucks up all the smaller businesses, and then people have no choice but to work at the one company that's left.
Well, capitalism isn't sustainable.
No, that is actually not what capitalism was envisioned as. I love people who talk about, oh yeah, I love Adam Smith. It's like, have you read his book? Because he says government must control capitalism because left to its own devices, it becomes anti-competitive. And the government should fund certain things because everyone benefits.
Right, but that's not the capitalism we operate on. The envisioned capitalism isn't the reality.
No, what we have now is predatory capitalism.
Capitalism is an experiment, just like socialism, just like democratic socialism, just like communism, just like fascism. It's all an experiment. There is no absolute rules that if you are capitalist, this and that is going to happen. Right. Every use of capitalism is going to be warped by its own environment. There's no rules. There's just no rules.
What we have now is a failure of capitalism that Smith himself actually predicted in his book if the government fails to rein in anti-competitive practices. And few people realize Marx is just echoing what Smith already said. But honestly, I can't blame someone for not reading like an 18th century economics book because go get the Cliff Notes version if you want to know what he actually give them a good idea of what he said, because a lot of it's just specific to 18th century Scotland.
Well, 18th century anything is exactly what we need, isn't it? Make America great again?
I would rather have 18th century than 19th century.
Oh, interesting.
Because 19th century is what they're going for during the Gilded Age.
Yeah, I won't call it that. I'll call it the racist age.
And I think that's a fair point, though, is that a lot of times these terms get they get jumbled up a lot because you have all this pushing to make it mean what they want it to mean rather than what it ever actually meant. The same thing with like calling well the United States is a democracy, and it's like, well, it's not a pure democracy, there's and so there is a difference in what definition was originally laid out and then how they applied that and actually put it into practice.
I think Tsunami has an especially good point just there that I think compassionate people rarely seek out positions of power. And I think that's really generally true. That the people who really, fight to get into powerful positions are usually the ones who are pretty greedy and selfish.
Compassionate to whom?
Taking power is antithetical to compassion.
Right.
When things are so toxic anymore, a lot of people, just avoid it, right? I think we're losing a lot of good possible candidates because, why leave my business and all this to get into that, toxic environment? Yeah. I think a lot of them are like, nope. They might think about it, but they're just, nope, I'm not going to do it. I don't want it. I don't want to deal with it,
Well, not everyone's well suited into the political life. It's like, I would make a terrible politician.
Sure.
But I do think we should have tests maybe to weed out malignant narcissists and prevent them from the presidency, along with sociopaths, and we should have laws to prevent them from being CEOs.
I mean, the cognitive test isn't good enough. Man, woman, TV, camera.
All that does is determine he doesn't need to be put into a nursing home right now. And I'm sure we all believe that he aced the test and no one ever aced it before. Even though it's designed to be easy to pass.
I took that exact same test and I aced it because it was such a completely simple damn fucking thing. Let's see. That's an elephant, and that's a dog, and
it's looking for obvious missteps where something's not clicking upstairs, right?
Well, I think you should elect me as president, because I would do it, the way that they said in the Hitchhiker's Guide, I think is appropriate. That the job of the president shouldn't be to wield power, but to distract attention away from it. So I could be out there, making the public statements and all the stuff that Fox News wants to poke at, while some actually intelligent people who know what they're talking about are running things behind my back.
I think Joe should run. I know he's got trouble finding a job with his record and everything, but you can be president, Joe.
My bank account don't have enough zeros, unfortunately.
Don't spend your own money. What are you, a sucker?
Well, the way that we began to measure power is by the amount of money that you control.
Oh yeah, it's obscene. It is. Yeah. It's obscene.
You're not required to have any knowledge of any of the workings of it or be competent in any other way. If you're rich, it must be because you're a genius.
Yeah, other countries, they cap your spending and they cap how long you can what's the word? Running for office,
they deliberately limit
campaigning. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they limit campaign time and the funding and everything. And we got Orange Man campaigning for 4 freaking years.
Yep.
And how many hundreds of millions or billions of dollars? It's totally obscene.
Well,
and people tune out. You talk about people wanting to know what the positions and everything are. You get tuned out when you got this idiot campaigning for 4 years.
I do want to say.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Jen makes an excellent point regarding the woke discussion, which I don't think we ever finished well enough. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The MAGAs and their definition of woke is just going to be based in hysterics, yeah, and just plain bullshit. Every time you're in a conversation and somebody says woke or makes some kind of joke of it and stuff, demand that you get enough air to give the correct definition. And I think the most usable definition is that woke means that you are aware of other people and that you care about them and will help them if they need it.
Yeah, well,
that's what woke is.
Yeah.
And the Republicans have been spending decades telling us to wake up, but now they're upset that we're woke.
And I think something that many people maybe don't consider is that none of these issues lives in a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
Things like wealth inequality affect other things. Things like education directly affect tolerance and these other issues that we're talking about. And people often forget that, I think.
Woke 1A, awareness of and actively attentive to important and social facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice. B, reflecting the attitudes of woke people. 2, disapproving, politically illiberal or progressive as in matters of racial and or social justice, especially in a way that is considered unreasonable or extreme. Okay, there you go.
Does anybody on this panel think, for example, abortion? Does anybody on this panel think that the major movers in the religious right is not aware that education is the key to lowering abortion?
No, they've been offered that commentary for decades and decades. I remember them talking about or trying to be taught that in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And they just don't get it. They don't believe it.
Well, I don't think it's that they don't get it. I think that it conflicts with many of their other positions.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem for them.
Well, since Reagan, everything that the Republican Party is religious based. The evangelicals were brought in as that extra vote, and they haven't left, and now they control it. And that's
And I
what
get
Christian
right.
nationalism is all about, is evangelicals. And they're not Christian at all. They're just
And what is the
nationalists.
enemy of faith?
Okay.
Okay, but can I just say
Porpoise.
one thing
Sorry,
about
go
the
ahead.
teacher? I have literally a full Congress full of people who are willing to tell me how to do my job. And I'm so grateful that as someone who teaches computer science, I am giving guidelines on what to tell them about sex, a subject that comes up all the time in my class. And if they were to ask me about sex for whatever reason, I'm not allowed to tell them anything that might actually prevent an STD or a pregnancy.
Right.
Yep.
Which is code for don't talk about it, right?
Oh, I'm allowed to tell them don't do it. It's just I'm not allowed to do it. It's like,
Well, what you're allowed to do and the dog whistle that they're putting out there are two different things.
The common feature of any fascist government is that they like to burn books. They like to control the message in terms of education, and they like to make sure that certain things are not discussed. And that's why we
Right.
cannot talk about. We can't even print the word climate change. We can't even mention trans people or envies or anything like that in any kind of official capacity whatsoever. We just
Why?
don't exist. Why? Because they don't want to hear us to. They believe that if nobody hears about us, then we're going to just fade away.
Right. If people are not informed, if the subject's never talked about, they don't have to worry about people being informed. They don't have to worry about people realizing that we're all people, right? That it's similar to systemic racism, for example. Like those things that were baked into the laws didn't say we're doing this to be racist against these people. It was, oh, we'll do this, and the effect is that it prevents brown people from voting. That it has this effect without us directly saying it.
Yeah, they like to live behind the fence that says if I don't use those words, I'm not racist. Well, no,
Yep.
it's your behaviors and everything else that you do in your life that shows that you're racist, you asshole.
If I don't use those words, nobody knows I'm racist.
well, all of that is,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
while all of that is true, systemic racism also includes a bit more where systems are unintentionally set up in a way that
Oh, sure.
affects minorities more just because the majority doesn't think about it.
Did you guys know the true story behind the Statue of Liberty and what it actually was supposed to represent in its initial proposal? Its initial proposal, and somebody actually did the work to go back to France and to spent months and months and months researching all the files and things and found the original plans for the Statue of Liberty. And it was supposed to have been a black person with chains.
Oh, wow.
And that the symbology of the statue was going to be breaking the chains of slavery. And that's what the liberty and everything was meant to talk about.
I had not heard that one.
And I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a picture good enough to tell, but I am told that the if you look closely under the robe of the Statue of Liberty, there's chains.
No.
They wouldn't change it completely. They left chains in there. They're just not really visible as I understand it.
As long as you have a safe word, Sumani.
We love you, Samami. You say you sometimes your perspective is as valued as any other that I can think of.
And it's highly valued. It's more highly valued than Donald Trump.
Sure.
Opinion on anything.
Yeah, definitely.
I would love to debate Donald Trump. God, I would so love it.
Why do you want to debate someone who would lose to a rock?
So I'm sorry, someone who
would lose a debate to a rock?
Well, because rocks are my friends.
They're eating the cats.
Well,
and they wet me on their side, you see.
I mean, Donald Trump could debate the podium and he would still lose.
Unfortunately, I could see that Donald Trump would probably win most debates because debates generally aren't decided by who has the facts or the best information. They're generally decided by, you know, who gets the audience more excited or has more charisma.
Well,
What is the purpose of a debate?
A political debate is to give you each candidate's positions, and unfortunately, they become kind of like a circus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Since mass media.
Well, it's also not a debate in any way, shape, or form. It's an opportunity to discuss whatever salient points you think you have to make the other guy look bad.
And I've never seen Donald Trump do that successfully.
No.
No.
He hasn't.
I mean,
Well, you know, he did tell us about those, you know, dogs that are getting eaten and things like that. And that was pretty important.
in fact, since 2016, I don't think I've seen Trump form a complete sentence successfully.
Did you see his speech at West Point?
Oh wow! Yeah.
Oh my God! Oh my God! How embarrassing!
What do you think the majority takeaway was from Donald Trump's debate against Kamala Harris? They're eating the cats and dogs, right?
The megas thought he won, that he just decimated her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all that
Yeah, I
most
think that
people
regardless.
remember is the crazy, insane things that he said about eating cats and dogs, not the very little bit of policy that he laid out, which was mostly bad brown people must go. But
He has part of a plan.
well, yeah, concepts of
Concepts of plan, yeah.
It's
Well-
practice in distraction.
Yeah, but it is something that, you know, came up with Reagan's campaign managers was that if they talked about him on the news, if they showed a picture of him, his approval rating went up regardless of what they were saying was good or bad.
Yeah.
Well, who was his campaign manager? Was that Lee Greenwood? No. What was that guy's name?
No. The Atwater.
Darn it.
No, I know. I said Greenwood because I wanted to bring in country music into the joke. But Lee Atwater was a very good campaign manager. He knew how to get on top of stuff, and he ran a very effective campaign.
Well, and Lee Greenwood is the one who assembled the Bible that Trump is selling.
The only thing the art of the deal and the Bible have in common is that Trump hasn't read either of them.
And let's remember, in this Trump Bible, which has, you know, the Declaration of Independence and part of the Constitution, because they eliminated amendments 11 through 27.
Yep.
Because that's not originalism.
What is the statement made by Goth in chat mean?
It was the early spiritualists that introduced spiritualism is a movement that came out in the 1830s about the same time Mormonism and Jehovah's Witnesses started, because it was in a very, it was called the burned over district of New York, because a lot of preachers weren't happy that the founding fathers were not very religious and seemed to be anti-religious. So that led to movements like Mormons, the Spiritualists, and the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, thank you for such an excellent answer.
Yeah. No, I didn't know about that either.
Yeah.
But
I know there were a lot of different religious groups that popped up around that same time.
I don't think the Spiritualists introduced it because Mennonites were also very pro-equality and had been moving in that direction for a long time.
Yeah.
Jen, yes, you are absolutely correct about Bannon. As much as I detest that man, he's pretty goddamn smart.
And apparently he's not a fan of Trump right now.
No.
He vacillates, though.
Well, Trump didn't pardon him, so he went to jail. That's why he's not a fan of Trump anymore. He expected a pardon.
He couldn't be pardoned because Trump wasn't in office at the time. He was convicted and tossed in the hoosegow.
Yeah, but Trump could have granted him a pardon while he was still in office.
Well, he could. Yeah. You don't. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I get you. Never mind. I understand.
I love the fact that they're trying to distract everything by stupid things like, oh well, we have to have a big inquest about this Biden thing. Dude, he's not in office. Nobody cares. Only you, and you know why? Because you like to push lies. So fuck you.
Well, the Republicans are noticing that AOC is getting a lot of attention, so they started a rumor. They tried to create a scandal about her that she is secretly rich.
And well, she's probably richer than I am, but
yeah.
I heard her value was around $200,000.
Well, that's what I heard.
That's their pay.
That her actual value was like only $170,000, even though her annual salary is $176,000. So that her actual net value right now on the books is lower than her 1 year salary.
Since she started out as a bartender, it's like I don't think they're going to make her like look bad that way, because it's like she's very much the American story they want to tell. They just don't like her because she's Hispanic.
Didn't any of you see the? God, I love Jasmine Crockett. That woman is just so dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see her go after MTG again? she just rips her a new asshole every time.
The socks stay on.
I feel bad for Soros because Soros lives in the district she represents.
Yep.
Let's see here. Fact check by Reuters file in 2021 show she has between $3,000 and $85,000 in assets.
Honestly, we would expect politicians to have more resources than the average person because they're successful politicians.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes back to if you're rich, it's because you're somehow competent.
If you're a politician, you're rich because you can do insider trading unfettered.
Yeah.
Because you're not Martha Stewart.
I mean, I wouldn't even see it would be a bad with if they just put their money into a mutual fund and have someone else do it.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the way every president up until Trump did it.
That's what I'm doing because I don't understand investing. It's like these people know what they're doing, and maybe I can still lose money, but I'll pay the $5 a month or whatever this particular account wants, because they should know what they're doing.
Just throw your money at Warren Buffett and take a nap.
Yep.
Well, John Oliver did an episode of Last Week Tonight where he discussed the difference between a financial advisor and a fiduciary. Mm-hmm. And I think it's helpful in that conversation.
Garth, I'm not really sure what you're saying is true, because I would say equality was one of the key values of the Enlightenment, which was not necessarily spiritualism.
Yeah, well, I was kind of letting that go just because we've gone off in so many different directions already. I wasn't going to get into a discussion about the difference between spiritualism and religion.
I want to get back to the brief comment somebody made that trans people did not lose us the election. I don't think we cost the election, but we were a major contributor to its stuff. Not us, but the attacks on us by the
fear mongering.
I mean, they did spend $220 million on ads against trans people, and every single word they said was a lie. Every single word, and they passed it on to state elections. They passed it on to regional elections, local elections, and they were all spouting the same crap. So they really used us as a major fear point in their campaign this year.
Yeah, they may have used us as a fear point, but I don't think that influenced the outcome of the election, because most people do not vote about what trans people are doing. Most people, I mean, it really was the economy.
Yeah, a lot of those ads did not land.
I think that the Democrats' lack of action in that situation was actually more offensive than the lying ads that they told.
Yes, well, that's the thing. Yeah, why the Democrats have such a low approval rating now is that they're not pushing back against the bullshit. They're not challenging the Republican lies.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Trump says everything's better, that eggs are cheaper, gas is cheaper. Why don't we hear anybody, you know, rising up and saying, he's lying. Have you checked the sign at your local gas station this week?
I'm trying to keep this directed more at the effect of trans people in this last thing, since it's Pride Month and all of us around here seem to be trans. You know, I said before they did use this as their target, where their number one fear monger for them. Oh shit! What was I about to say? God damn it!
The scapegoating.
That scapegoat, yes. They do use as a scapegoat. It was an attempt to rally their base, but when it comes down to it, people aren't going to vote based off what you're doing to trans people when there are larger economic.
No, but they do, because they have this whole thing. America is a misogynistic country. We know that, and one of the things that includes in that misogyny is that women need protection. Okay, from the big bad world, and men. Ooh, and trans women are, well, they're just men in dresses, so therefore those bathrooms are dangerous for women, and those locker rooms and all. Nobody in the Democratic Party stood up and said, this is bullshit, and this is why. Here's this study, that study, that study. Here's this confession by the people who made the lie up and admitted it was a lie. You know, they absolutely failed. They didn't take one single effort on any level that I saw of trying to counter that false information.
That's the point Purple just made.
Well, the thing I was saying about it is that, like, while they did the scapegoating and stuff, as we discussed earlier, the percentage of the American electorate that could vote in the election may have not been enough to change that either way. But the Democrats appearing weak on the issue was the point the whole time. We're going to scapegoat these people in order to make the Democrats look weak, and at the same time, the people that we're scapegoating aren't capable of funding or taking part in to fight us otherwise.
Oh shit.
Sorry, just a brief thing here that Tsunami made, since it was Roma History Month and Gay Pride.
Didn't know it was Roma History Month.
Didn't know the
But I do love that.
Very nice dress.
Yeah.
Well, that is pretty.
I would definitely wear that.
I want that.
Oh yeah, I want that.
Somebody
skirt.
make that for me.
Maybe without the earrings and the bandana.
Well, like I say, I want the skirt, just the lower half there. I would wear that. I could not wear that top. It just wouldn't look right on me.
Well, you
also,
got
I don't have
boobs.
a stomach that flat.
But you got boobs.
I got small boobs, but I got boobs now.
Well, I mean, trans men tend to be proud of their scraggly beards, and trans women proud of their tiny tits.
Yep.
Or not so tiny tits, and
Yeah,
some of us.
in the last upgrade, I got a couple of lumps that are, not quite a handful.
I was gonna say, you see my chest. Mine aren't that tiny, but.
Yep.
But I'm assuming yours are also not that tiny, so based on contextual clues.
I'm a solid B.
Thank you for sharing that, Tsunami.
Some brows I want to get in that C size, but not for the most part.
I'm a D cup.
Yeah,
oh, damn, I'm gonna hide under you when it rains.
Please don't.
I don't think I'm quite a B cup. Maybe a little more like an A.5 or something.
I feel so bad for women who are like a GG and those humongous sizes. That's got to be so painful.
My late fiance was a J cup.
Oh.
And yeah, just finding a bra she could wear.
I was going to say, don't feel too bad though, because after they reach a certain size, men stop looking at your face.
It's a gravitational effect.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's why my knees are all bruised up. I'm old.
Well, there is the gravitational effect because the bigger a woman's boobs, the more idiots she attracts.
God, that's so true.
I did see a cool like purse someone made for Pride Month though that was just in the shape of a brick painted with a trans flag.
Yes, I saw that being sent around.
And I can post the meme to you guys where it's just like a discussion about whether boob sweat or ball sweat is worse. It's just a trans woman holding up both fingers, both of her middle fingers.
Actually, one of my cousins was something more than a double D. I don't know specifically, but yeah, she actually had to get a reduction because the doctor told her it was destroying her back when she was like 25.
Yeah.
I had a friend who got a reduction because she was in her late 20s, early 30s, and then her doctor told her the same things. Do something about it now. It's going to be a lot easier recovery, and then you won't ruin your back and have to have it done later because you've ruined your back.
Yep.
And she did, and she was never happier.
Yeah. So.
But that's
well, guys
gender-affirming
may
care,
get excited about them. They're kind of impractical over a certain size.
Somebody noteworthy was in the news recently. They did something that was purely gender affirming care, and they were a conservative of some sort, and I just can't remember who it was. But that's one of the things that you can use to defend yourself against these idiots, folks. If you want to be an ally, is you learn some of these truisms, and you put it in your arsenal of what you can say and how you can fight back. It makes a difference. Gender affirming care is not just trans. It's everybody who has anything done or worked with, counseled, therapy that makes them feel better about their own self in terms of their sexual existence.
It's not just surgery. There.
Well, and like hormone blockers were used for cisgender children for decades before they were ever used for trans people. Well, particularly, girls that were having the precocious puberty, that their body would start developing much too early for them to really understand everything that was going on.
Keep in mind, though, that there was a large period of time where there was no such thing as puberty blockers, except for giving a huge dose of the other genders' hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not to mention that also HRT doesn't necessarily apply to what transgender people go through. If you ban HRT, there are a lot of people who have like hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's disease who are going to be a lot worse off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've banned something they need to continue surviving.
Well, just a lot of postmenopausal women.
That would be me and my osteoporosis.
Yep. Yeah, the same estradiol that Jenny and I take is used by a lot of postmenopausal cis women.
One thing I can't credit the Trump administration for is any foresight on anything they've done.
I have a friend who had to take hormones for other reasons. I'm not going to get into specifics here, but
Well, and things as simple as a man obsessing over having a beard of a certain style and all his fussing and primping about it that he does, that's basically gender affirming care. He's a man, he grows his beard, he's proud of it, it represents his sexuality, and so therefore taking care of it is gender affirming care.
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, and men who take any number of drugs to prevent hair loss because they don't want to go bald.
Guys working out and building up this big freaking muscular body. That's basically gender affirming behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not just trans folks. And,
Yep.
and as I've said before, every surgical procedure that is experienced or available to trans people was invented for cis people.
Women putting on makeup.
And we're seeing that happen right now with the uterine transplants. They are perfecting it for cis women, and all the time they're commenting about how they intend and expect that this will work out just fine for trans people at some point.
Speaking of makeup, Mr. Trump, if you're listening, please befriend a gay person so he can fix your makeup.
Oh God, yes.
Oh God, I would love to see a couple of drag queens do a makeover on Trump.
That'd be great. Just kind of remind me of like my cousin when she was getting into about maybe 11, 12 years old. She started putting on makeup for the first time. It's like, this makes me feel pretty.
There's a drag queen on Twitter and TikTok named Landon. I forget her last name. She's really very, very pretty and very, very good at what she does. And one of the things that she likes to fuck with is to imitate the makeup routine of various celebrities. And once she did herself as Trump,
What'd she do? Take a can of orange spray paint?
Yeah, basically she just stained her skin, and that was it. But for others, she is actually pretty accurate with how some do it. I'd love to see her do what's her name? God damn it, 700 Club. What was her name?
Tammy Faye Baker.
Thank you.
Oh boy.
There's probably out of caterpillars they can't duplicate her eyelashes.
Huh. Apparently, on the next month on the 1st, there is a drag brunch in my city.
Oh yeah, you should go.
I might if I can find it.
I have to get out of here, everyone. But thanks for inviting me on, and happy Pride Month to everyone.
Okay, you want
Happy
to?
Pride Month.
By the way, I really like your background. That's very nice image.
Also, I love the bit where you were drinking out of a water bottle that was clear, so your green screen image was just changing the bottle to green.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else caught that, but
Joey, you want to just plug whatever you've got going on this week?
Yeah, sure. Tomorrow I will be talking with Jason and Jeff to promote BajaCon coming up, and I'm of course still working on a lot of stuff to do with the Arc Encounter protest, which takes place July 6th in Williamstown, Kentucky. You can find more information about that at arcencounterprotest.com if you're interested. And if you have any questions or anything for me, the Kentucky Atheist at gmail.com. Get a hold of me. I'll gladly answer anything I can.
So will you be going along the Bourbon Trail?
No.
Kentucky, if I come down to that, can we get a motel room together?
Sure. Why not?
All right, cool. I'll bring the lube.
Well, I'm sure we can find something to do. But you're gonna make me blush. I'm
making me blush.
Well, I'm actually kind of sunburned right now, but yeah. Thanks for letting me come and talk about this stuff with you all, and keep
You're
up
welcome
the good
to
work.
drop in anytime. Just
Ooh.
Yeah.
leave me a DM or pop into the side chat and say you want to join in. I'll send you a link.
Jenny's trying to hook me up with lube, and Purple wants to slide into my DMs.
I'm thinking I might have to find out about this drag brunch. I'm looking at the place's little restaurant store, and looks like they got some nice food here.
Drag events that are just drag events, not some reading at a library, are just tons of fun. In Milwaukee, even our small Milwaukee of only 750,000 people, we had a drag club in town. That's all it was, is a drag club 24/7. And it was just a blast, just absolute blast.
I've never been to one. I've seen drag shows on YouTube and all that, but yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot. Might be fun.
And you might find a new hobby. No.
No, I don't think I'm gonna be interested in joining them in the drag, but hey, maybe I'll see my mom's friend in from way back.
There you go.
My mom was friends with a drag queen.
Well, Jenny, if you like drag, there's a drag queen on TikTok who does math tutorials called Carry the One.
Oh no, I'm not familiar with them. I know a couple drag queens on TikTok.
But honestly, drag.
What? One who I had no idea was a drag queen, and I knew her for like a month and a half, and then found out she was a drag queen. It's just, I love it when I'm fooled and blown away that way. It's fun.
But mostly drag shows are too loud for me, and I don't particularly enjoy them.
That might be an issue if it's really loud.
Yeah, well, that's the problem I have with any kind of a club or bar. Is just the lighting and the sound is just too much.
Well, you go to the hardware
really
store.
Enjoy the show.
Go to the hardware store and pick up some earplugs, and you can reduce the sound issue.
I have tried that. It is not enough, because for me, it isn't necessarily the volume. It's just that there are so many different sounds, and I'm hearing all of them at the same time, so I can't sort out a voice from any of it.
Yeah, that's why I still do karaoke though, but it's like, it's just an autistic thing. You have to worry about sensory overload.
Yeah, well, I used to drive Sloth Girl to different bars to do karaoke when we were up in Michigan. And that's, at the smaller bars where people were actually quieting down to hear her sing, there wasn't a problem.
Did you guys hear about Hot Lips Houlihan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of sad, but
yeah, she passed away a week ago.
But like the Republicans said, we all die.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
That was such condescending.
Well, and did you see her apology from the graveyard?
She's doubling down on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess she doesn't want her career.
Well, it's like she gave an apology from the graveyard and finished it up with, as long as you come to my Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
get a job.
Take your fucking Bible, rip each page up, roll up nice and tight, and shove it up your fucking ass.
Yeah.
Well, in the immortal words of Trent Reznor, Joni, your God is dead and no one cares.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
God, is this funny? The old TV show Emergency is on, and it's so funny to look and see the 70s. God, we actually dressed that way and looked at that, and oh God. Men had sideburns that, down past their ears, and it was such a weird time.
Okay, I lived through it, but I was never going to acknowledge that polyester suits were an okay fashion.
No, they weren't.
How can you not love how Carl Kolchak dressed in The Night Stalker? Of course, I'm pretty sure the whole point of his outfit is that he can't afford anything better.
That was pretty much said in the show, yeah.
I do love his hat, though.
Yep. They were going to have his character. The actor did a small appearance in an episode of the X-Files, and they wanted to have his actual character do it, but I'm not quite sure the reason, but I'm guessing it might have to do with something of a different company owning the trademark on the character or something.
Well, I mean, Kolchak the Night Stalker is not a hard right to get. And I know they did try to do a revival, but yeah, the X-Files did owe a great debt to Kolchak the Night Stalker, which is why they tried to do that.
I like Darren McGavin so much. I thought he was just a lot of fun as an actor.
Oh, yeah.
But I hated that show, even with him in it.
Oh, I liked the show. It was fun.
Maybe, I don't know. Even if you didn't like the show, you didn't like the show. I loved it, but I
then
didn't watch. But I would go ahead.
I didn't like the A-Team either, but I had a crush on George Peppard, so I would watch it from time to time.
And now, see,
Well-
I just thought the A-Team was stupid, and I never watched that.
Oh, it was very stupid. Yeah.
See, I wasn't old enough.
That's
to
what
watch
was
it.
great about it. You missed it. That's what was great about it. It was made in the time where the anti-violence big kick was on and nobody could get hurt. And they managed to pull off a show detonating explosives and running automatic weapon fire all over the place, and nobody got hurt. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was like a video game.
They weren't very good shots.
I was not old enough to watch Kolchak the Night Stalker when it was on the air, but I did watch the A-Team, and
Yeah.
I did enjoy the A-Team movie when it came out because they knew not to take it seriously.
That exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Like, especially-
Jenny, what you
Yeah.
were saying about them not being very good shots, that's because the only people they could afford were retired stormtroopers.
Exactly.
Oh, well, they all got jobs now in ICE.
Listen, we are now referring to that organization as the Gestapo.
Gestapo. That's good.
Gestapo.
Um,
The long eye
for
in there.
a little bit of trivia, Gestapo is broken down as a German word. It's not actually a word. It's a oh shit, what do they call that? When
The
you
portmanteau, where two words are shortened
When-
and put
when-
together.
yeah, when you put letters together and it makes a word when
Oh,
it's
that's
actually
an acronym.
an acronym. Thank you. It's an acronym of three German words, and it's not the first letter; it's the first couple. GE, STA, and PO, and I don't remember the words, but
Well, the first part is obviously taken from Gestalt, which basically means the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
no, it doesn't. Now you're going to force me to look it up. Where did I look it up before?
This is interesting. The
I know that's a very crude translation, but that's the
The
main.
skull means shape, according to Google Translate.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Geheim Staatspolizei.
Okay.
Secret State Police.
Okay.
Well, I'm still going to call them the Gestapo, though. Especially
Which is weird because the name of my column in the magazine was Die Werkstatt, which was the workshop, and here Stadt is state. I don't
Oh.
get that.
Yeah, Tsunami had pulled it up too.
well, it looks like this place definitely this is the drag queen thing and has definitely leans into the LGBT, seeing as they have a lettuce, and guacamole, bacon, and tomato, also known as the LGBT, for a flatbread wrap.
Hey, be sure to bring a book for them to read.
I would have never have known about Drag Queen Story Hour if idiots like Tim Pool didn't get indignant about it.
Tim
I knew
Pool's
about it just because I'm always so connected to the local library wherever I live. But
Let's
yeah, when I
see.
lived in St. Paul, like
15 hours
almost 20 years ago now, they were doing it at the libraries.
Goth, you're onto something there, I think, about spandex. I also think that men should be subjected to a panel of like 5 women to determine whether or not they're allowed to take their shirt off.
Oh, and here's another little thing for that restaurant. Looking at culinary journey around the globe, founded by a U.S. Navy veteran.
I'm sorry, which is founded?
The place I was looking at with that's doing the drag queen thing, it was founded by a U.S. Navy veteran.
Oh, okay. Well, there's
Yeah.
gay people and trans people in the Navy. drag
Okay,
queens.
but-
And actually, in World War II and stuff, the army put considerable effort into keeping a band of soldiers together who would put on various entertainment things, and it was drag. I mean, there was no women in the shows, so the men played the women's roles. You know, I don't know any of the shows personally, but they did those, and it continued on past World War II for a time. That's just what the army did. If it's okay to be in drag in the army, apparently.
Oh, men playing women's parts in plays and stuff goes back long ago.
Oh yeah, all the way back to Shakespeare and
Even further than that.
and probably ancient Rome and
Yeah.
Greeks.
Probably goes back as far as that they've been giving performances.
Just about.
Which is another factoid to keep in mind to feed to the haters if you're going to be our ally, and that is that trans people go back to the Sumerian age, which was thousands of years before Abrahamic religions were even invented. And notice I said invented.
Yeah.
If you really want to blow their mind, ask them where they got their knowledge of classical music. Then point out it was a cross-dressing rabbit.
How so? Oh, Bugs.
Yep, Looney Tunes.
Sorry. Bugs absolutely influenced me. I have to admit it. Bugs was exciting. Like, you know, Bugs was the first thing that said you can be a girl. You know, it was.
Yeah, it was the first representation any of us saw of that.
So thank you, Bugs. Mel Blanc.
Do you know he hated carrots?
No. Hadn't heard that.
Yeah, when he was doing Bugs Bunny, he had like 2 on carrots, but then he split them out because he just hated them.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. He did. That's how they did the crunching sounds. He would actually bite into a carrot and chew it, and then spit it into a spittoon after the take.
He also did the voice of Twiggy on the 80s Buck Rogers.
When you're doing eating on a movie set, people all have a spit bucket. It's up to them whether or not they swallow.
Mm-hmm.
But because sometimes it takes a long time to shoot these things, and you could be really, really eating a lot.
Yeah, in fact, with a Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray when he stuffed that whole thing, that whole cake into his mouth. He actually ate that. And he threw up afterwards.
Now, if they ever do a remake of Groundhog's Day, I hope they don't actually remake it and just re-release it again.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work in the town Woodstock, Illinois. That was the scene for all the city downtown, city square, town square scenes and stuff was shot in Woodstock, Illinois, and I used to work there.
Yeah, for Groundhog.
Yeah, for Groundhog Day, the movie. Yes.
Why not shoot that in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania?
Not the town scene. It was shot in Woodstock, Illinois. And you can go to Woodstock, Illinois, and look at all the big signs and posters and historical markers to that effect.
Why does this conversation give me a weird sense of deja vu?
Oh.
Probably because you've seen it before. What's that noise?
What noise?
There was a noise of something on
Noise that you were making, Jenny.
Oh,
That noise.
Yeah.
That noise. Oh, okay. When my little microphone bounces off my clothes or something, that makes that noise. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, Jenny, I don't expect you to be able to sit still, so it's okay.
I sit still very well. I haven't moved a muscle really.
I'm getting hungry.
But that's only because if I masturbate, you guys can hear it, and I'd be embarrassed.
Okay, well, I think we should wrap it up here because we can end on. Well, at least we're ending on a positive note. So.
Oh God!
Before.
Yes, I agree. Not hearing Jenny masturbate is a positive note. Okay, now that we're
No.
into the awkward silence, continue.
Dave, you want to tell us what you're going to be up to this week? What you're doing with your channel? Or I guess Dave stepped away for a bit. How about you, Porpoise? What have you got going on?
Well, right now I'm waiting to see if I'm going to get picked up in the same role I was next year, which honestly, I know they hired someone, but I don't know who it was. I'm kind of hoping it's going to me, since I can't imagine there are that many people who want to do my job. I'm also, like I said, I was working on a video that explains why AI is hallucinating and some of the ways they're trying to get those done. You can find it on the Mad Computer Scientist channel, which was linked earlier. Please comment, please subscribe, because right now we're just at 316, and I would like to get to the point where I can monetize it if I want to. And I don't know, maybe depending on what happens with the job, I may go back to YouTubing for a little bit on my original channel. But the main reason I stopped doing that is because I needed to take a lot of those videos down because it wasn't setting a good example. Remember, everyone, be excellent to each other, and so long, and thanks for all the fish.
Jenny, you have any last words here? Anything you want to tell people, or just you're gonna just scream someone's name?
Scream my name.
Actually, oh, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was
What
just
are you
joking.
up
I said, scream out my name.
Okay.
Yeah,
Doing
so-
around, you missed yours.
Yeah, Dave, I called on you earlier for what you were doing on your channel this week.
I had somebody knocking on the door. I wanted to cut my lawn. Sorry. I will be on. I will be on tonight, and every Saturday we have Saturday Night at the Atheist.
Could you put your link in the chat, please?
Yep.
I've actually started writing again,
Oh, good.
and there's nothing I can share you with that, but I have, and it's actually starting to feel good, but not there yet.
Yeah, well, it can take quite a while to write even a small piece when you're just getting back into it.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
It's a form of art, and it's like a lot of other artists, like painters do, that it requires some inspiration and it requires some perseverance. And
I just got to figure out why people keep saying there. I don't understand. Or
I don't know
read red.
Huh?
Read red.
So watch out when they start saying red rum.
Red rum. Red rum. Who's got the birds? What kind of birds are those?
I think that's the starlings. We've got a lot of birds. My wife has all the different kinds of bird feeders, including the oriole feeders and hummingbird feeders. We got everything.
Were you here last week when we played the video of the starling making all of its starling kind of noises that it's learned?
I don't remember, but I hear them all the time.
Oh, not like this one. It was so radically incredible.
Let's not play that again.
They go at it a lot. They are very noisy. They are.
If you go to TikTok and you do a search for starling singing or starling noise or whatever, you'll come across it. And it's really amazing how intense their calls can be. They sound, this particular one, not on the one video we watched last week, but on another video of the same bird, it does R2D2 that is absolutely indistinguishable from
I've seen that one.
The real one.
Yeah.
I learned what they're putting the oriole feeders out. You put the jelly in there, right? They like to have jelly. Lots of other birds and even a squirrel. We're all up there. They all like jelly too. We got robins in there and all kind of stuff. They all like the jelly too. So who knew?
My sister-in-law is big in bird feeding, and she has oriole feeders and hummingbird feeders and all these specialty things. And she gets an amazing collection of birds. Well, she lives next to the Audubon Center. So
yeah, you got to have the ones.
Over.
Yeah, you got to have the ones for the bigger birds, and then you got to have the ones for the smaller birds that the big birds can't get into. Otherwise, they'll eat all that. So,
and
yeah,
then
she's got all the different styles.
And then the stuff you better put on the ground because those 12 turkeys that come around every day.
I know. Well, Sumami out there. She's got bird friends too. So that's cool.
Oh,
Okay,
crows! I love crows.
Let's give
so
Major
much.
chance to tell us what he's got going on here.
All right, I've got my Sunday show at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be covering the PTSD awareness and veteran, seeing as I covered Pride already, and it's also PTSD Awareness Month. For that, I'll be doing a little history run and presentation on The Punisher, and for movie trivia, I'll be covering in First Blood.
What was First Blood? Was that
Rambo.
That was the first Rambo movie.
Oh, okay. I wasn't a fan, so I don't know these things.
Actually, this will be the first time I've watched any Rambo movie myself, so this is great. So you'll be getting my first impressions of these movies.
I got my garden in, Mage.
Oh, nice.
Well, I don't have anything going on other than be back here same time next week.
I know it works.
So we would like to thank our supporters who, send me a bit of money to keep things running here. Regios, Robert X, A Very Stable Milking Stool, Sandy Shore, Skitzcrasher, and Kitty the Atheist. Oh, and Junie.
What the hell kind of name is Sandy Shore? It sounds bogus to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a beach, but
I actually dated a woman whose name was Sandy Shore. It wasn't how it was spelt, but that was her name.
Well, life's a beach, so you might as well spend it there.
Yeah. And when she finally had a kid, it was her son of a beach.
okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Be trans. Don't get caught. Enjoy.
May the odds be ever